Honk.
That's what I'm talking about. What's going on, everybody? Welcome all and sundry and the wonderful peoples. Welcome, Arvanauts, and everyone who is here for the final day. It is hard to believe it. It's hard to believe that it was just seems like yesterday that it was Sunday. No, I'm just kidding. It feels like just yesterday that we got started. Thank you so much, by the way, for Kooky Canuck. Thank you also for Tom As Is for the resubs. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, to the subs and the resubs. Welcome, everybody, to Day 4 of ArvCon 2021 to benefit the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. At this point, you folks all know the drill. It has been an overwhelming success, I think it is fair to say. Our goal was 2,500. We surpassed that. Obviously, we then went past our record, which was the record that we had was 4,000 set last year. We went past that, and we've now doubled the goal, over doubled the goal. So we are at 5,300. We raised a ton of money yesterday as well, and we have one day left to really bring this home. Can we reach 5,500, 6,000? What can we reach? How high can we go? Only you can answer that question, because it'll be up to all of you and the folks that we bring in here who are able to help us get the rest of the way. It is hard to believe. I know, Kooky Canuck, it really is. But thank you so much for the subs. I appreciate it, man, and the long support over the years. So yeah, we are here with Damon Runyon. Again, those of you who do not know what this is, as he turns on his webcam, there we are. Good to see everyone. Those of you who don't know what this is, the ArvCon charity is something we do every year right around this time to benefit the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. Damon Runyon is a wonderful organization that supports early stage scientists, early stage researchers in their careers, and the work that they do, both in terms of how they raise their money, the transparency they have as the charity, and then the actual effects that they have with the researchers that they support, and the work that those folks do that go on to benefit research into ending the scourge of this dread disease is deeply inspiring. I think this weekend has been a weekend for me. I've used the word joy a lot, and it's been a weekend that's been very emotional for me, actually. I've thought a lot about my folks and a lot about my mother in particular, and my dogs, and family members and people that I know and friends that have been affected and that we've lost due to cancer. And also, again, many people that have not been lost, those who are still here with us, those who are survivors. Those are the people that we're fighting for too. And it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for me, again, to get to do this 7th annual ArvCon and watch the generosity of all of you folks donating in chat, all of the mods and all the work that they do, all of the corporate sponsors, all of the players, everyone who has been a part of this, all of the GMs, all of us who have been a part of making this a really wonderful ArvCon. And I'll talk more about that this evening after our last session. But we've still got a day 4 to get to, and that means we've got 2 events that are going on. First event that we have right now is going to be Scum and Villainy. It is a one-shot being run with the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation scientists. If you were here on Saturday morning, you will know that I interviewed these folks. They were really a lot of fun and very inspiring to me, and I imagine you will find them the same way. And of course, our inimitable Turbo Tango, Michael R. Underwood, is the GM. He will be running them through Scum and Villainy, set in his own world. So I think Mike's got that covered. So that's going to be happening at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then at 6 p.m. Eastern, that gentleman you just saw right there, that person you just saw with the hearts right there, the Rising Tides, is going to be joining us and is going to be hosting the Pyre Waltz one-shot. This is one of the micro RPG book games, and it is going to feature Brandon O'Brien as one of the players, Michael Underwood as one of the players, Valerie Valdez of Case of the Cindered Seal, Blades in the Dark, Speculate Twitch channel joint event fame, and we will have as well Amar Amaraz of Soundclash the Clampdown fame, and all of that is going to be GM'd by Literal Soup, who is the game designer of that game. So that's going to be closing us up this evening. Again, 2 big events today, and so the hope is that we can make a lot more money and really push this forward and close with a huge, overwhelming splash. What a great way to come out of an awful 15 months that all of us have had in the world. What better way to do it than and have something which is a mark of the community coming together and making what I think is the most important part of what we try to do in this channel, which is communities working with each other to communicate within compassion. That's what we do, and that's what Damon Runyon, I think, ultimately is all about with the research that they do. How do you do that, you ask? Very simple. Exclamation point donate. Exclamation point donate will open up the page once you go over to the page that has been specially set up for us by Damon Runyon. At the bottom of that page, you will see a donate now link. If you click on that, you'll be brought over to the page where you can donate via PayPal. Thank goodness. And once that's done, please come back here into the Twitch chat and type exclamation point donated space and the number that you are donating. And we will then make sure to get you added onto the list. And again, we're doing giveaways, tons of giveaways pretty much every hour based upon the wonderful generosity of our sponsors. And so there's games and books and music and all kinds of things that you'll get as far as that concerned. Last thing I want to mention is that the top donator prize is going to be closing up as of the end of the second event today. Right now, Mike Smith from Peripheral Media is the top donator, and he's up to get that big fireworks picture, that amazing metal photo print, which is behind me. The second top donator right now is Dragon Spear. And so Dragon Spear is online to get this, which is from Prince Justin. Again, another amazing metal print of a photo, which Prince Justin himself took. Really gorgeous sunrise over the mountains. Really spectacular. Even the camera, which is a good camera, doesn't do it justice. And then the third and final person right now is Carlos Hernandez, who is in line to get this, which is the Icarus Jelinek limited edition hardcover of my Icarus Jelinek award-winning graphic novel from Athos Arts and all that kind of good stuff. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want a piece of that, that is the third top donating prize. Hillness, I should say, is right behind. Hillness is only about $5 behind Carlos. So Hillness may be able to jump up there. If someone else wants to swoop in, you can get that, but that's only going to be available. Sorry, Sunset, I beg your pardon. Sunset over the Tetons. I apologize. Sunset. But if, just to be aware, it's only until the end of the last event tonight. So as of the last event tonight, which is going to be just in a few hours from now, we're going to close it down. So if you're interested, the number to beat, the top number to beat is 773 US by Mike Smith. Second is Dragon Spear with 545. Third is Carlos with 511.11, and Hillness right behind at 506.38. Again, that is just for those who are generous enough and in a position enough to be able to donate that. Any amount of money you can donate, there is no amount too small. Any kind of amount is worth it and is worthwhile, and we are greatly appreciative of whatever you can do. And if you are not in a position to donate, simply being here, watching the stream, and spreading the word is hugely important. I have a link in my Twitter, which is my pinned tweet right now, which brings people right to the donation page. If you can retweet the heck out of that, if you can let people know about this stream happening right now, all of that is super helpful as well. So please consider jumping on board with that. Otherwise, I hope you folks are as excited as I am. We've had an amazing 3 days, and let's finish strong with the fourth day. And I can't even get the words out before Tomasis has donated $50 right out of the gate. That is what I am talking about. Thank you so, so much. We are already up to $53.50. That is the kind of thing I like to see. Thank you so very much. That is awesome. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. Not even being able to finish my intro before we get a donation. Thank you so much. Yes, the last thing I want to mention, actually, I'll do this when I come over to those folks. So I'm going to unmute myself now and apologize unreservedly for no doubt having interrupted a wonderful conversation they were having. I'm sorry. Now I'm going to unmute them. And last, I'm going to head over to reveal that we are here with Scum and Villainy. Not these people. These people are not scummy or villainous, but the game Scum and Villainy with, of course, Mike Underwood. And I just wanted to say, I'm going to hand things over to Mike to introduce these amazing people for this great event. But I don't know if you folks saw this, but we literally got a $50 donation before I even got over to you. So this is really great. 5,350. Let's keep it going, chat. The one thing I want to say is that I am going to not be able to be here for the whole time because my family is going to look at me sidewise if I'm like, I need to spend the entirety of Memorial Day weekend away from them. So I'm going to have to step away, which means that if you do donations, the donation bar will not be instantaneously updated. Bear with me. We will update it every half hour at minimum. So you will see that number getting updated. So fear not, more money, if you donate it, will be reflected in that overall box. That said, Mike, I have felt a lot of joy all this weekend from everybody who's been excited about it. I'm so glad, my friend, and grateful that you were willing to GM this amazing crew of scientists and soon to be villainous, not really players. And so I'm going to hand things over to you. Mike, please take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael R. Underwood. I'm Turbo Tango on Twitch. Those of you who are ArvCon regulars probably know me. I also co-host Speculate, the actual play podcast, along with Greg and our co-host Brandon O'Brien, who's going to be helping run some stuff later on today. So please stick around for that. As a reminder, we are raising funds for the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation, which funds high-risk, high-reward scientific endeavors for fighting cancer. And I'm very honored to have 3 fellows of the foundation with us here today. Hopefully some of y'all got to watch the interview that Greg did with them over the weekend, which I got to do earlier today. And I'm really happy to have all of them here to do something fairly different. So we're going to be having a one-shot science fiction adventure using the game Scum and Villainy, which I'm going to highlight here. Scum and Villainy is a Forge in the Dark role-playing game by Strash Asimovic and John LeBeouf Little, and published by Evil Hat Productions in association with Off Guard Games. So I want to say thank you to them for making a wonderful game that we're going to use to tell a story here. So I'd love to give all of my players a chance to quickly introduce themselves to everyone who's watching. If you just give your name, pronouns, and a little bit about your research and or some of your like science fiction fantasy interests, just so everyone gets to know you a little bit, and then we'll proceed. Belint, are you okay to start?
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Belint. I'm starting on my 2nd year as a fellow. I studied the effect of social setting on tumor progression using ants as a model system, where we can give the organisms tumorigenic phenotype and ask in a social setting or not, how does the tumor accelerate or decelerate? For science fiction, I'm a huge fan of the science fiction genre of movies like Star Wars, Star Trek, but also of books like classic Asimov books, as well as more modern fantasy science fiction like the Dragon Riders of Pern series. And then also as a gamer, never on this front, but on like the PlayStation, like most recently playing Biomutant. So big fan of the sci-fi genre.
Awesome. Harry, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi guys, my name is Hari, and I actually start as a Damon Runyon Quantitative Bio Fellow tomorrow. So this is clearly my first year. So I work on cancers of the immune system. And what that means is that when your body does everything right with respect to immunity, you get to fight off infections and you get to be super healthy and happy and live long. But the cost of that is that when something goes wrong, it can end up as some really scary blood cancers. So I study the balance of how we stay healthy and fight off infections without letting our body crumble under its own defenses. And I've always been a pretty big fan of sci-fi and fantasy. I actually started in robotics and then came over to studying biology. So yeah, I've loved, the classic Asimov stories. I've also watched a lot of anime, and I'm a big fan of like Cowboy Bebop and Ghost in the Shell and those really amazing mecha animes. And I'm super psyched for today's game because it's going to be my first time ever.
Awesome. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop is pretty foundational for me in terms of science fiction stuff. So I'm glad to have that overlap. Great. And Caroline.
Hey, I'm Caroline Bartman. I'm starting my 3rd year as a fellow. I study what pancreatic cancer eats. We're trying to study the metabolism of pancreatic cancer compared to all your healthy tissues so that ideally we could drug pancreatic cancer and try to not have side effects on other tissues. As far as sci-fi, I'm a big fan, especially books, I guess. And recently I've been enjoying the 3 Body Problem books and like all of Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, and Sanderson is really renowned for kind of expansive world building with lots of interconnecting parts, which is very fun. Cool. I just got the approval. I know that we have a lot of kind of donation incentives, but I'd love to add a paperback copy signed and personalized of Annihilation Aria to a top donator during this 3-hour chunk. But I can really only offer that to continental US because international shipping is very difficult. If instead the top donator is from outside the continental US, I am happy to send that person an ebook copy of anything that I've self-published. So that's Genrenauts Season 1, Episode 0, or Episode 7, or I'll try to get you something else really cool. So I'll just put a little bit of extra fun in the pot there. And I do that because we are playing in the setting of Annihilation Aria, which is a found family space opera. It's very much informed by works like Cowboy Bebop, the Star Wars movies, the 1999 movie The Mummy, starring Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser, as well as movies like Guardians of the Galaxy. So as you can tell from the cover, it's like a very kind of synthwave, neo-neon kind of setting. And we are going to be telling a story in a place called the Wreck. And the Wreck, centuries and centuries ago, was a ship called the Aspirant 1, and it was a colony ship. And there were, thousands of families across a variety of species in this kind of multi-species civilization. And so they pooled all the resources, got this big ship, and they were going to go far beyond kind of known space to try to, find a new place to live. They didn't get there. Instead, their ship was severely damaged, and the leadership at the time decided to stop at this asteroid belt. And they rebuilt the colony ship into kind of a space station city-state, which is now called the Wreck. And so if you imagine like a kind of oblong colony ship, incredibly long, like probably the size of like somewhere between a Star Destroyer and a Super Star Destroyer. So like small city sized, but then you put it on its side and had it like attached to a big asteroid. So in the Wreck, there's a lot of kind of remaking DIY stuff because it was built this way and now it lives this way. So there's a lot of like makeshift stairways and elevators and stuff has been redone. And so one of the ways that people talk about things is like floors and decks, because you have to go a different direction. So it's going to have some commonalities with places like Nowhere from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or any kind of outer rim planet in Star Wars, your Tatooines, your Jakkus, and things like that. So you all are playing as kind of scoundrels who have formed a crew on the Wreck. And this is a place kind of at the edges of Imperial control. There is an Imperium that has reigned since the dawn of time. No, they've been in charge for like 1,000 years. There was an old empire that was ruled by the species called the Atlan, who are now mostly like pilots and engineers, because the thing that they held on to when their empire fell was they're the only ones who can control how a ship can go into warp space. So they have kind of this technological knowledge monopoly, but they've been really marginalized otherwise. So there's not a lot of options for them in polite society. The controllers of this Imperium are the Visenk, who are a species of 12 to 18 foot tall, 5-tentacled anaerobic super soldier people, who are like, what if you took like a kind of a pitcher plant and an octopus, put them together and made them powerful enough that they could strap on a space shotgun and a jetpack and go toe to toe with small spaceships. So there's a reason they're in charge, because they're terrifying. But they're mostly over there, and we're mostly over here in the Wreck, which is for the most part a kind of fringe civilization where gangs and crime organizations are more or less in charge. So at this point, what I'd love to do is go around again and ask for everybody to briefly introduce your character, kind of what idea you came to the game with. And then we will figure out how these characters all know each other and get to know them a little bit more. And then we'll jump into our adventure. If we can start going the other way around, Caroline, would you like to introduce your character?
Sure. I am the mechanic of the crew. My name is Agar V, and I am a Ilhari, which is a short hamster creature. And my backstory is that I was in the Visenk Navy shipbuilding school, but was betrayed by a friend. I was framed, so I had to drop out and go to the wreck and become a renegade mechanic. And so I have, tip-top shipbuilding skills, but I would prefer to be in a more civilized environment. But I make do with what I have.
Awesome. And Hari?
So my character is Iera Soul, and I am a Relix, which is a 5 to 6 foot bipedal bird person with hands as part of my wings. And if you don't mind, Mike, may I ask you where I find the rest of it? Sorry, Mike, I think you were muted.
Yes, thank you. So the speaker is kind of a social operator. You can talk about kind of command, consort, and sway. And then when we're done with everybody, I'll go over some of the special abilities. Something that is unique to Iera is the move player. You always know when someone is lying to you. So as we're doing social scenes, please remind me if it seems like somebody might be lying, because your character has kind of a specially tuned sense and experience to be able to suss out when people are lying. Are there other parts of the character that that you want to highlight or that we should go over real quick?
Sure. Yeah, I think what I would also like to have for this character is that this was a character who started off at a really good place in life, but then got betrayed in something like a noodle incident, which kind of shook the person's faith in people around. So while all the diplomacy and the class and everything is very superficial, I'm also a very ruthless character who will not hesitate to do the same to pretty much everyone around me.
Cool. That will definitely help with surviving here on the rough edge. And Balint.
So my character is the Muscle, and it's named Axel. He appears as a moonstone-skinned humanoid cyborg with an Atlan heritage. What's interesting about this character, as he ages, he adds additional cybernetic enhancement to his body. So I'm more machine now than man, I guess similar in the Darth Vader mold. And that's part of the culture of the background of this character. And these characters tend to be disliked by the galaxy's tyrants, so I tend already to be going against the grain, as it were, of the overlords. Additionally, the character also has a couple of vices, as you'd imagine, such as gambling, a life of luxury, and apparently is also a little bit weird. So I guess it a little bit fits into who I am anyway, too.
And could you share the little bit of backstory that you'd come up with when we were talking ahead of time?
Yeah, so his backstory is that his family was lost as a function of these tyrants who, like the squid octopus people who killed his family, and he was injured at the time. So part of the cybernetic enhancement and this desire to keep adding and becoming better and better is to overthrow or overpower those who ended up taking everything from the character, which is taking his family. So kind of like the Drax of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. And so Balint, your character has a couple of special abilities that are really like physically oriented. So I'd love to hear like what you think Axel's kind of cybernetics situation is. Like, Does he have like replacement arms? Are there like special devices that are along with that? Like we can kind of imagine some like kind of science fiction-y kinds of cybernetics. We don't have to be really like super naturalistic here because we're in a space opera space.
So the way I envision him is that his arms are cybernetic and that they actually have like where your bone, your radius and your ulna would be. Instead, there are other attachments that come out like of the hand, so you can connect to databases to actually hack into systems. So that could be the stealth operon, but also switching out so that the fingers go backwards and instead you reveal a weapon of various kinds. So it's like a Swiss Army knife in the arms, and then other like internal organs have also been replaced, but that can release like an ultrasound pulse in order to bypass others or fry communication. So he's kind of a overall just an army knife of tech.
Cool. So Caroline, I'd be interested to think a little bit about what kinds of mechanic work has your character been doing since kind of leaving the Navy. Are you repairing like other scoundrel ships? Are you doing maintenance on the station itself, which is like, it's an old thing, so it needs a lot of maintenance? Do you have like, should we come up with an individual character or some kind of faction, like another gang or a community that you've been doing work for? Is anything that sound interesting to try to develop?
Great question. I think I do whatever work I can, but if possible, I prefer to work on the like fanciest, newest ships, which of course are scarce, but I'll, kind of take what I can get.
Sure.
And since I am a 4-foot tall hamster person, I'm very prized for my ability to go in like very small crawl spaces that no one else can repair.
Yeah, I think in this setting, Atlan are often thought of as the most capable mechanics, but really along one side, like they're not one size fits all because different sizes fit different things. And so I think there's probably also a reputation of Ilhari mechanics and people of other species that are kind of smaller than their kind of galactic kin to be able to fit into things. And that sounds really fun. Hari, do you have any ideas of like factions or grudges that you'd left behind or are still nursing in terms of your character's former life and maybe how that informs how you approach life kind of on the wreck?
Well, you see, when I was booted out of the nobility, I was so frustrated at the entire system that I made sure to spend 5 years taking it all down after me. And my home planet is a bit of a wreck, really. And nobody really knows that I was the one responsible behind the scenes, but that's me. So what I've managed to get away with is a lot of connections with people who think I'm their best friend and who might go a long way in doing many things for me. And that's only because they really don't know how much I loathe them, and that I would do anything to keep getting back at them as many times as it would possibly take to make me happy.
Excellent. That brings me to a fun part of Scum and Villainy characters. So if everybody can pull up your character and then scroll down in the right-handmost column underneath all of those actions, there's stuff about bonus dice and gambits, but then there is a list that should have 5 or 6 names and some description of friends. And so Scum and Villainy gives us a lot of ready-made connections. And so in a given scene, I might ask if somebody has a connection that they would want to reach out to, or I might say, would it make sense if Nisa was here? And Nisa is like somebody who hired Caroline's character for a previous job. And that way there's just some kind of ready-made characters that we can introduce. And so I think, Hari, I would especially encourage you to look over that list that you have, because the speaker is very much the kind of character who's like, oh, I know somebody. And then that represents what you've described in terms of your backstory. Okay. Does anybody have questions about stuff on the character sheet? or any of the kind of setting and character stuff that we've talked about so far? Just gonna check on chat here. I will probably keep on buying more monitors, even though I have 2, because when streaming, I feel like you need at least 3 or 4. I don't remember how many Greg has. It's probably 4 or more. Because having the stream up and my Roll20 and the Zoom and my Word document with all my prep ends up being a lot of things all at once. So sometimes I have to step back and double check things. I see some various friends from different parts of life in the stream. So hi to everybody who is here for this. Thank you very much for being here. I'd love to, okay. So thank you, Trifidi Mats. I think something happened with the video, and the portraits for our players have gotten scrambled. So I'm gonna try to ping Greg really quick to see if he's available to switch those. Otherwise, folks who did not weren't here for the intros, please double check chat because the captions are currently not correct. So I'm going to ping Greg real quick. What I would encourage y'all to think about is, how did you become a crew? Did you do previous jobs together? How much have you worked together? Did one of you find the others? Had your paths crossed in those previous lives kind of before you came Scoundrels? Hari, had you maybe hired one or the other of them in the process of like burning down that like aristocracy around you? Or Caroline, had your character like crossed paths with somebody else? And so we'll talk just a little bit to get a sense of how these characters know each other before we go into the mission. And I would welcome y'all to kind of chat amongst yourselves real quick to brainstorm while I try to see if we can get this fixed.
I mean, I was thinking that Hari is clearly the most outgoing. I mean, I'm laser focused on mechanics, and Balint is focused on his body mods / revenge. So, I mean, maybe Hari like recruited each of us as part of her like master plan of destroying everything.
I think also she was inspired by my anger, but I was a no armed person at that point. So you operated on me as the mechanic to actually give me the body mod. So I'm actually like your greatest creation of like the cybernetic like mix of humanoid and like you take elements of like ships that you really like that you've been working on, and you instead just like sneak it into me to like keep building me.
Actually, you guys fished me out of the trash, when I was like at the lowest point of my life, and you're the only ones that I would actually do something for and die for.
So how long do you think this group has been working together on the wreck? And do you have ideas about types of jobs maybe you've already done?
I feel like we've been together for at least 10 years at this point. Like we have a long back history. We've done everything from like raiding, I guess, like other leaders, like strongholds, and stealing all their like whatever currency we deal in and valuables, as well as to like, I don't know, kidnapping and ransom, extortion. We've done the whole spectrum at this point, I think. We're a very tight-knit crew.
Yeah, it's actually getting to the point where we have to avoid certain areas of the wreck because we're like too notorious.
The bounty's so high on us that we can't go to certain places.
Sure. So is that...
we have connections that takes us all across the galaxy, so there's always new prey.
Awesome. So yeah, if you're all game for that, we've got a really solidly established crew. What this also means is that there's another fun mechanic in Scum and Villainy called flashbacks. Like in a TV show or a film, or in other media, sometimes you will flash back to something that hadn't previously been established in the narrative. And you all are welcome to flashback to previous adventures that your group has had, or flashback to moments along this adventure that we haven't seen, of like, oh, well, actually, I had a bike stashed around the corner. I want to flashback to establishing that. And Hari, specifically, you get a free, more powerful version of a flashback because you get to make an acquire asset roll for free. And I think you get to do, there's one other thing, and that's on your special ability list. That's era of respectability. So you can use a downtime to acquire assets or lay low. Normally there's like a downtime phase, which is separate. We're just doing the mission part. But what that means, Hari, is that you can say, oh, I want to flash back to acquiring some asset. So a special weapon, a special intelligence, like some other kind of special thing that in a show or a comic or something, we would need to establish that you have, otherwise it feels unfair. Well, it turns out you did have the time, you had the connections to be able to get a thing. And so if that comes up, just let me know, hey, I want to flash back to using my era of respectability to acquire an asset. Cool. So in the interest of kind of getting into the adventure, I want to set up a little bit about the job that you all have been given, and then we're going to jump into a scene and let you kind of start to explore the space in action. So there is a crime lord on the wreck. She is the biggest, baddest news. She's kind of the Jabba the Hutt of the wreck, and that is Jezvin Care. And she is like a 6 foot tall, resplendently plumed, entirely viciously cruel relics. And she has most of the gangs of the wreck under her talons, but not everybody. There are definitely factions that don't like Jezvin and who are working against her. There's like local governmental organization that's like trying to like have a society that isn't entirely dependent on crime lords. And then there's going to be other factions. So you all are probably somewhere in that mix, and we can get a sense of we can just kind of create and retcon existing relationships. But I think for this mission, you've been contacted by a kind of mysterious Atlan fixer by the name of Cog. And because you all have been in the game for a while, you would know that Cog kind of operates as a like a dispatcher and fixer for Atlan artifacts. She has customers that are really interested in old Atlan machinery, technology. So this is stuff that's all like 1,000 years old or older, and is officially taboo. Like technically, according to the Imperium, this stuff doesn't exist because it's always been this way. The Visenk have always been in charge. They are the beneficent creator overlords. And so this work is very dangerous. It will take you into what is called the Forbidden Sectors, where there's just Imperial ships patrolling all of the kind of major lanes coming and going, and like puttering around the big ships that have ruins of shattered planets from this old empire that have been erased from history in as many ways as the Imperium can. But what Cog has asked you to do is to retrieve a specific Atlan artifact that her people brought into the wreck, but then was stolen by somebody. And if you are able to bring this back in functioning order and kind of basically get it to one of her other people somewhere else in the wreck, it will pay you enough to take several months off. Like it's a really big score. So you've got that. And I think what we'll do is we're going to jump into the action as the three of you are following kind of a lead that you've gotten before, kind of in the previous episode. Maybe Hari, maybe your character got a lead that somebody at the quarry had some information about the theft of this device. And the quarry is like a mining themed bar in the wreck. And the owner used to mine the asteroid that the wreck is built into. So things, like you'd walk into the entrance of the quarry and it's mostly down from you, except you're looking straight across at the bar. The bar is on like a 20 by 20 platform, like kind of slightly rusted corrugated steel hanging from the ceiling by these big, like 5-inch thick chains. and the owner of the bar, Rocks, is just like taking care of business from the bar. And then you look down and there's several levels where there are tables and chunks of rock and tables on those chunks of rock, and everything is like chains back and forth. And it's like a little town, as if it were out in the asteroid belt with everything kind of chained and cabled together. And so you have to like climb or jump down and kind of scuttle up and down. There's an elevator in the corner because it's not super inaccessible, but for folks who are cool adventurers that don't that want to jump around and things, like you have this. Cool adventurers that need mobility assistance can do cool adventurer things and use an elevator, and then do cool things in other ways at other times. Because I wanted to balance, here's a thing, but it's also not super ableist. So we'll see how that goes. So as you walk into the quarry, I want to ask, has anybody been in this bar before? And if so, who do you need to avoid? And this could be a character on your friends list that we then establish as someone who would be here, but you need to avoid. And this way we can start kind of stitching a fabric together. Does someone have an idea?
It could be someone that we have previously been employed by, but
okay.
We decided to keep the artifact that time because it was worth more than they wanted to pay.
That sounds tricky. So Caroline, would that be Nisa or Nissa, a previous employer?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to mark that as a down arrow, which means a negative contact. And what do you think? Like, what do we think Nissa's deal is? Like, what kind of job was it that you were hired for and decided you need to keep something? Was it some bit of technology that Caroline, your character, ended up using for the crew or for enhancing Balint's character?
Yes, exactly. It was his like ultrasound pulse liver, and she recruited us to get it, but then we liked it so much that we just kept a hold of it and tried to never see her again so that it wouldn't come up.
Okay. And I think Nissa is a member of the Yaya, who are like a fairly populous species in Annihilation Aria. One of the main characters is a human from Earth, but poses as a Yaya because they have the most phenotypic overlap. And so the Yaya have like really culturally important like cartilage, kind of Star Trek forehead stuff. But it's all very personal. And so it is usually covered up by a hood or by some kind of different head covering. And so I think Nissa has like kind of a whole head cowl that wraps up and like a scar that goes all the way down a cheek. I think Nissa used to be a scrapper before kind of getting into the fixer business. And so Nissa has a table off on the left with three kind of beefy looking types, and doesn't necessarily peg you right away, but you know that Nissa is there. I'm guessing, Hari, that your lead is somebody else, unless it is Nissa. What do you think?
Well, I was thinking I don't quite want to run into Jay-Z here because, you see, they know me under a very different identity. And they think I'm this super respectable princess from this provincial corner of Relic Society. But the fact is, they come down to this place to do their dirty work, and that's the dirt that I have on them that I can spring anytime I need. And I don't want them to know that I know what they're doing. So I wouldn't want to go face to face with them.
Okay. And Jay-Z is they, them pronouns? Cool. Well, we certainly have a kind of a dangerous situation, and you know that you have people to avoid. How do you? What are you going to do? So you've got this bar. You know where the bartender is. You have a lead that somebody here would have information about what happened with that artifact. What do you do? So this is for anybody. You can talk about what you want to do more out of character, like, oh, I'd like to, get some information from somebody, or you can describe what your character does in first person or in third person. We can talk kind of out of character in terms of how this group approaches this. This is very much like handing over the mic to let you all kind of detail the scene until we get to a point where I need to give some feedback or we need a roll. So, anyone is game to start.
I would say we're really trying to be not conspicuous to multiple groups of people in here. So I think we should only send one person in to start so that we're less noticeable. So I think Balint should go in, but he should wear like super long sleeves so no one can see his modified arms.
I like that idea. Also, one of my characters' past connections is called Yazoo, who's a crooked cop, and so I think we could also bribe him to arrest and take out the people that we notice in the bar who don't want to be noticed, so that it'll cause a distraction, so we can sneak into the bartender and ask for the information that we need.
Oh, okay. That's a cool move. So are you gonna go to Yazoo yourself? Or are you gonna try and get Yazoo in touch with Iera? Because if you're gonna do a social role, then it will be with your action, with your actions, Axel. And I see that Axel has a dot in command, but is not as good at consort or sway. So commanding a cop to go and arrest someone could be risky, even if you have a relationship with them. So how do you all want to approach that?
Yeah, get Hari to do it.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I would definitely seduce Yazoo and get him to meet me at the bar. And he thinks he's going to have a fantastic time. And I'm going to tell him that, I have a bodyguard coming to meet me there. And then that bodyguard's going to take him to the special place we're actually going to meet. And that bodyguard's going to be Balint.
Okay. So is Iera going in to make contact with Yazoo and then you're sending him off?
Yes, they've already met before. Okay. And this is the rendezvous.
Okay, cool. So if you're going to trick him into going off to where Balint's character Axel is, I think that will require a roll. And so what we'll do is I'm going to pull up Hari's character sheet for Iera, and let's look at your resolve actions. And Hari, which action are you going to use to do this? Is this consort, where you're acting kind of as colleagues, where it's like you're mixing business with pleasure? Or is it more about sway and relying on, leaning more heavily on kind of raw charisma and your experience? Or is it something else that you're doing to kind of trick him in this situation?
I think it would be a sway in this case.
All right, so so we're looking at the play reference for y'all to jump into if you want. Sway, when you can sway someone with logic, charm, deception, disguise, or bluffing, change attitudes or behavior with manipulation or seduction. That sounds perfectly applicable here. Very good choice. I think 1, 2. Sorry, I misclicked a thing. And so in this situation, Hari, the speaker has fine clothes. And in this game, basically the situation with items and encumbrance is very fluid. And you kind of, you have what you need. And because you're not in there's a different version of kind of mission structure later. So I think because your character generally has access to fine clothes or a luxury item, that you could be using one of those to get increased effect here. So is this showing up dressed for a date or a fancy party, or did you bring a gift for Yazoo?
I brought a gift of a really fine brandy. Cool. And I'm also wearing a perfume that's known to confuse people of Yazoo's species.
Okay. So I think by default, seducing a cop to the point where they kind of go off their guard might have a limited effect. But because you have fancy clothes and you have this this luxury item of the gift and the perfume, I think between those two, you would go from limited effect to standard effect up to great effect. And so we see Iera is fully decked out, and you've got the brandy that we highlight, and kind of the camera sees Yazoo kind of breathing in the pheromones or the perfume, and there's kind of like sparkles in the irises of Yazoo's eyes. And so that means that while this is still risky, you would have a great effect. And so by default, you'd have 1 die from sway. You can spend 2 stress to push yourself and get an extra die. Other things you can do to get an assist are someone can help you in kind of that social play, or you can spend a gambit. And a gambit is a team-based resource that you all have that represents kind of your team's luck and your ability to work together. So Hari, you could push yourself for a die. You could spend a gambit, of which you have 2, and or somebody could assist you. What sounds good for that?
I think I would take an assist from Axel, because he's going to start playing the bodyguard role right now, and
Okay, yeah.
hold like a nice feathered shade over my head and everything, and
Okay.
make it look even better,
Cool. Are you all
even
right
more
with,
realistic.
are you good with that, Belint?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Belint, on your sheet, you would tick 1 box of stress, and that's how you're assisting Iera with your character Axel. And yeah, so you've got an assist, and you could push and or spend a gambit. You get gambits back if you roll a 1 or more 6 on a risky roll. So you spend gambits to get extra dice, but you can get them back if you make a risky roll without spending a gambit and you get a 6. So that recharges your pool. So otherwise you'd have 2 dice, Hari. What would you like to do? I think you're still on mute, sorry.
Sorry, like, what are my options right now? Can I just go ahead and roll?
Yeah, you absolutely can. On 2 dice, you've got like a 75% chance to get at least a mixed success.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I'll roll.
Yeah, so you do sway, risky, great effect, and 1 bonus die. And then great. So on the chat column, everybody should see the speaker rolls sway and the results were a 4 and a 2. So you take the highest die, which is a 4, which is a success. And your position was risky, your effect was great. So I think Yazoo is game, and he will like get up and kind of walk with you to wherever you've prepared. But he doesn't basically he's keeping his gun on him. And this is like a kind of Star Warsy Firefly galaxy, so it's more laser guns than slug guns. So Yazoo is still armed, and that's going to be the consequence. If you had gotten even better, I would say, okay, well, you've succeeded so powerfully that he's going to kind of come into that scene really unprepared. Now, this is a consequence that any of you could resist if you would describe how it is that you avoid that consequence. So the consequence is he's still armed, but you don't have to resist the consequence. We can move forward where you're taking him somewhere else, but he still hasn't. He is still armed. So what do you all think?
I think we should go with it so that we can hurry and get this piece of information before people start leaving the bar.
Yeah, sure thing. So once you've got him somewhere else, Belint or anyone, what's the trick for kind of either manipulating the situation or getting information from him? What do you all want to do?
We have the fine brandy we gifted him. Let's get him drunk.
Okay. Yeah, and I think you've made the sway. So, does anyone have an idea of where did you go? Did you go up to a private room in the bar? Did you have some place squared away nearby ahead of time for situations like this?
I think a private room in the bar. Yes,
Cool.
there's a chunk of very nice quarry rock in a private booth.
Oh, is it like inside, like hollowed out rock with like a bead, like a hanging bead, like wall door? Cool. And Caroline, is your character waiting there, or is it just the two others?
Yes, I got there hours earlier when
Okay.
the bar just opened and no one was there.
Right, and I'd wager that there's probably an Ilhari-sized hole somewhere in that room that you could be hiding behind if you wanted to. So yeah, I think you get him there. You can liquor him up. I won't dwell too much on the scene because we're going to get to other things, and you've already succeeded. And so I think he just like basically starts unburdening his life. He's like, nobody appreciates me, you know, and I'll look at everything that I do for the community, and like glosses over all the terrible things that he does as a corrupt cop. But you like, I think Iera is very practiced at this. You're able to guide the conversation, encourage him to keep drinking, and you know he is game. I don't think you need to make another roll to get him to like check his data pad and be like, oh, there is actually an outstanding warrant for one of those for one of the thugs that's working for GZ. And then like basically he stumbles out and like is like has his hand on his gun and points down to somebody and says, Vec, you have a outstanding warrant and you're under arrest. And so like Vec's people get up, but then it turns out there's a faction that's loyal to the cops or has a partnership with the cops. And so like now people are like jumping from one asteroid chunk to another, and it's all knives so far because you all know, because you've been here, that if anybody pulls out a gun in the bar to start fighting, then Rox is just going to take you apart. Because Rox has like a cybernetic arm that has attachments that include a blaster, like a lightsaber kind of like plasma torch, and those like the soda fountain things that you use to like here's soda water or here's Coca-Cola, and just, you know, if you're a bartender and you have cybernetics, then you'd have one of those. Most people are more afraid of the blaster and the plasma torch, but she uses the soda one most frequently, which is handy. So yeah, you've got a big distraction, and you can proceed without having to be too stealthy. So what would you all like to do in terms of getting more information?
So I think the person that we're trying to meet sees this huge, fight building up and decides to kind of slink away because they don't want to be involved. So seeing them slipping out the door, we like quickly follow behind to try to buttonhole them.
Okay. Does anybody have an idea for an informant character? I have someone that I sketched briefly that I'm happy to use if nothing comes to mind for anybody in terms of people that you'd like to see here. Okay.
Can we take from our acquaintances sheet?
Yeah, if you like, I have somebody ready if you don't want to have to tick something off. So this is Thrush, who is also a Relics and has a broken wing, broken right wing that didn't set right. So I think any of you, if you'd had previous, I think your group has probably run across the Razor Plume gang before. The Razor Plume is a mostly Relics gang who work for Jezvin. And they're notable because they use a lot of knives, and then they also go to painstaking effort and get these razor blade feather caps that they put on their feathers like scale mail before they go into battle. And so when they like swipe with their arms, it's like getting cut by 100 knives. So Thrush used to be in the Razor Plume, but got kicked out after they broke their wing. So basically like no medical support, no retirement, no support, just like, oh, you can't do the thing anymore. You're of no use to me. And so Thrush is like climbing / like feather, like wing hopping up toward the door. And who of you is there to intercept them?
I think I grab him by his broken wing and hold him up.
Oh, that is very sad for Thrush. I think they squawk and like kind of flail. What do you want? Let go of the wing. Oh, unless you're gonna break it to reset it. Oh, but please don't do that.
I think maybe I would use the like a command with the resolve and command to give us the information of where the relic is and threaten to break his other wing if he doesn't offer the information.
Yikes. So are you doing this like just in the entranceway to the door, or are you taking them somewhere else?
Around back.
Around back. Okay. So you go around back. This is kind of a rough neighborhood. It's a lot of like stacked and mishappenly like arranged, like repurposed storage containers that people live in, kind of like in a like super dense, not very well maintained kind of residential situation. So people around here are used to seeing this type of shakedown. Belinda, I think you are in a controlled position and you would have a great effect using command here, because we have established that you're big and tough. You are messing with their already broken wing, and you are threatening to make their life even worse. And it sure seems like you can follow through on that. So you would be in a controlled position and have great effect by default. And you have a number of options for if you wanted to get more dice to make it more likely that you'd succeed in your roll. So again, you can push, you can get an assist, you can spend a gambit.
Let's push.
Okay.
So how many stress points?
That's 2 stress for you to push. And that will give you a bonus die. And yeah, so you still have 2 gambit because you as a group did not spend last time. And again, you get gambits back if you roll a 6 on a risky roll. Okay, so is somebody going to help here? Or do you want to go ahead and roll with 2, Blaine?
So I think I'll go ahead and roll with 2.
Okay, are you good on the interface? That's
so
controlled and
click,
great.
Let's see, controlled.
And you get 1 bonus die from pushing.
Okay, and then you hit
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so you were in a controlled position with great effect, but you rolled a 3 and a 1. And so this is a consequence. Because it's a controlled situation, it's a fairly minor consequence. And I think what that consequence is that he's too flustered to give you information, and he's just making noise. And so that's going to start attracting more attention. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a clock. So something this game uses is basically countdown clocks to indicate trouble or trying to complete a task. And so our landing page, yeah, so we should be, I think y'all should be able to see in Roll20 this page that has the cover of the book and a little diamond that says alert. Is that true? Hopefully y'all
can see the cover of the book, but not the alert, maybe.
Yeah, let me make sure.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
How about now? It should be like a green diamond. Okay. If not, I'll probably need to move along, and I'll just keep y'all informed as to those. So that is the alert clock. And if there's 3 more points of consequence, then a faction is going to show up that you don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
That might be the Razor Plume themselves. It might be some other gang who've gotten word of some business about an artifact. But again, that is a consequence that you could resist. It's probably not worth the stress to do so because you'd still have to fail again for that. But commanding here didn't work. Do you want to escalate? Do you want to try another approach? What do you all do?
Well, I have an idea.
Okay.
So Thrush is so frightened by Balint that he's basically incoherent. But I see that in his pocket is like a space Palm Pilot communicator that he uses to log all his appointments and secret deals. And since I am a mechanic and very good at, electronics, I use a study action to figure out who he met with yesterday, who's the person who may have the artifact.
Okay, so do you just grab the Palm Pilot while he's getting kind of strong manhandled?
Yeah, I'm so small that I can kind of just slip it out of his back pocket while Balint is like twisting his arm.
Yeah, for sure. I think study makes a lot of sense here. So this will still have a position because time is a question. The longer you all are here trying to do this, the more likely that somebody will notice. So that will also still be a controlled situation. And I think you would have standard effect with study. So again, you can push, get an assist and or spend a gambit if you would like an extra die.
Okay,
Otherwise,
I'd like to push.
Yeah, so you can spend 2 stress on a gear to push, and then when you click on study, you would have controlled position, standard effect, and 1 bonus die.
Got it.
Okay, that's a 2 and a 4. So on a 4, you do the thing. I think it does take some time, so I'm going to tick that alert clock again once, but it's only at 2 of 4, and now you succeeded and you get the information. So I'm going to modify this clock real quick to make sure that I'm respecting that and that there is some looming. But what you find out is that Thrush heard from some of their old buddies, basically some of the gang who still like them, even though they're like not in the gang anymore. And you find out that they talk about stealing something old and important within this time frame when Cog said the things went missing, and that they have it at the Airy. And I think in the order, or in the interests of getting the scene moving, because you've got the information, I think Hari, Iera knows that you can get more out of Thrush if you bribe them. And I would say that if you spend 1 of the 2 coin that your group kind of has in your stores, they'll just tell you how to get to the Airy. And you all know, as I said earlier, that this will be a big payoff. So if y'all as a group are fine to do that, then I think you would get all the information you need to be able to kind of make your plan to get into the Airy. So what does it look like as you do that, if that's all right with y'all? Okay. Yeah, so in Scum and Villainy, there is a cool system where, like in a lot of heist movies, you see the group like putting the heist together, but in like montage format. Like in an Ocean's 11 movie, like they'll narrate the heist as we get like oh, it's Danny Ocean's audio over the characters kind of putting the heist together. Scum and Villainy draws on that tradition where you don't have to do a bunch of planning ahead of time. What we instead do is the crew picks an approach, and we figure out if you have a relevant detail, and then we figure out a dice pool to determine what position you're in when the job starts. So I'm going to jump to the part of the book where we do mission types, which is farther back here. And we will figure out what your approach is going to be as a crew. So approaches include assault, do violence to the target, deception, lure, trick, or manipulate, infiltration, trespass unseen, mystic, basically using magic, which is not something that any of these characters have, social, negotiate, bargain, or persuade, or transport, carry cargo or people through danger. And what I would ask you all as a group is, what approach does your crew take to try to get this artifact? Because the goal of the mission is retrieve the artifact. So your plan is just how you start. It doesn't have to be how you end. So you could start with deception and then have a big fight, or you could start with fighting and then you end up like sneaking your way out. So this is just about your plan, your approach to the job. So which of those sounds like what this crew would want to do in terms of getting the artifact back?
I suggest that we should infiltrate because I'm small and good at sneaking.
I like that idea. We can save the bold and brash, like busting our way out if we want, but sneaking in.
Yeah. So the detail for infiltration is the point of infiltration. And I think you could get from Thrush the fact that the members of the plume tend to leave a vent open so that they can smoke and it won't like end up choking them, because you're inside a giant space station and smoking is often a very bad idea. So there's kind of their ventilation system is left unlocked, and you could definitely use that as a point of infiltration. How does that sound? Okay, so you have your approach and you have a detail, and then we build a dice pool for what is called the engagement roll. So I'm going to ask a few questions and we're going to decide what we think in terms of things that are going to give you bonuses or things that might create complications. So you have one die to begin with for sheer luck because you're scoundrels and you're experienced at doing this. We ask, is this operation particularly bold or daring? What do you think?
I think it's kind of daring because it's like these very scary people's like main base.
Sure, yeah. So that would get you a bonus die, so you'd be up 2. Do you feel like this operation is going to be overly complex or contingent on many factors?
I think it'll be a straight shot in and out to the vault, picking the item up and leaving.
Yeah, I don't know that it seems overly complex. So you're still at 2. Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest? I think it definitely does, because they're not expecting somebody to come in there, because who would know about the ventilation? So that gets you to 3. Is the target strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations? I don't think that they do.
They're more military, so they're not expecting a sneak attack, I think.
Yeah. So at this point, we could establish that one of your friends or contacts is also providing you with aid or insight for this mission. Does anybody have an idea of one of their friends that they would go to get extra information, either about this gang or maybe some part of the wreck around it? Does anyone have an idea there or a character they want to volunteer?
I think maybe.
Yeah,
Go
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I had some connections with people who actually do deliveries and supplies to these people that they absolutely need. And we could
Sure.
use that as a transport option to get it out of there as well.
Oh, cool. I would say that if you use your free acquire asset, you can just have that truck.
Yep, let's go with that.
Cool. So that's that. And that will definitely give you a bonus die. So you've got your getaway situation is handled. As long as you can physically get it out of their hideout and to the truck, then you're scot-free. depending on, if y'all go really quickly and we're at like, 5 o'clock nothing, and you've got this thing on the truck, then I may throw some more trickery at you depending on how we're feeling. Just gonna give my space there because y'all are doing great so far. So yeah, I think that gets you to 4 dice, but we did establish that these are a pretty nasty gang. So I think they are high enough tier that you're gonna lose 1 die because they are bad business. And they're very well connected. So I think Jesvin, as like a local crime boss, she just kind of keeps things ticking along and is working against anybody who's plotting to do stuff against her people. This also represents like patrols and things around their territory. But you would still have 3 dice. And what that means is that I would either ask somebody to roll 3 dice, or you could each roll 1 die, and then we take the highest roll from all 3. How do y'all want to approach that?
Yeah, let's each roll.
Okay, so we're going to go over to the chat, and what you can do is just type / roll and then 1d6, and I'm going to copy that instruction into our Zoom chat, and all you have to do is copy and paste that into the Roll20 chat if you would like. And what I would say is let's all, okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, cool. So that's 1, 5, and a 6. 6 is really good. A 6 on an engagement roll means that you, that when you enter the scenario, you are in a controlled position. And so I think what that looks like is that this ventilation is big enough even for Axel, because we know that, we know, Caroline, that your character is very small. Double checking that Agar is small. And I think, Agar kind of is crawling through the tunnels, and you realize that even Axel with like big cybernetic arms can fit through here because of the way that this ventilation was handled. This is industrial. It was meant to be able to support, thousands and thousands of people. And the plume, for whatever reason, didn't put things in here to be able to stop this. We're in the world of fiction where ventilation tunnels are big enough for grown large adults to be able to crawl through, to be able to have movies like Die Hard. The next thing we do before we get into the action of the mission is everybody decides how loaded down are you with gear. If you have a light load, you really look like a civilian. You don't look like you're up to trouble, but you're not able to then bring as many things to bear. If you have a normal load, you can bring more items, but if somebody just on the street sees you, they can say, that's probably, one of those scoundrel types. They're probably in one of these gangs that's, kind of constantly fighting for control of the wreck. If you have a heavy load, you look like you're as loaded down as like an extreme backpacker or somebody in a war. What that means is it determines how many items you can say that you already had with you. And again, this is an inventory system that's not about keeping really close track of what everything is in your backpack. As long as you have points of load left, you can just say, oh, well, conveniently, I brought spare parts with me. And you click the box that says spare parts. Each of your characters has special items that only your playbook has. And then there's more items that anybody can have. So what I will ask is, for each of your characters, do you have a light load, a normal load, or a heavy load? A normal load gives you a fair number of options, but you're a little bit more conspicuous. I don't know that heavy load necessarily makes sense for everybody, but maybe Axel is the kind of person who is always strapped. What do y'all think for your characters? Which load are you going to take?
Yeah, I think Axel has the heavy.
Okay, so Belint, if you can click that diamond by 6 heavy on your character to let me know that that's what you've taken. Caroline, what do you think you're going to do for Agar?
I think I have a regular load. If you were to see just me, I would look like I was a mechanic fixing the vents. But
for sure,
if you see the other two, then it's all up.
That may get a little bit more tricky. And what about Yera?
Ira has a light load
Okay.
because she's got to look absolutely inconspicuous.
Cool.
And she might be able to help the other two with their load if they need it.
Great. So if you all can tick the diamond next to the load that you selected, that is going to be the maximum number of boxes of items that you can tick. The exception is that anything that's in italics does not cost load. So for Caroline, on Agar, you can have a small drone with you for free. It costs 0 load. And then again, you can have items from your kind of the top section or the bottom section. You don't have to select anything until we see it on screen as you're using it. So you have a lot of flexibility. But as soon as you want to highlight something because you think it will let you attempt a roll or it will help make a roll more effective, you can say, well, conveniently, I brought X with me, and we say what it is, and then kind of that's how we build the fiction there. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay, so yeah, you don't have to tick anything just yet. And I think we come into the scene and Agar is in the front because Agar is the smallest. And, so they've got the rest of the crew behind you and you're crawling through the vents. And what you see is that the Airy is in fact like it's like a bird habitat because they're all relics and they kind of, most relics can kind of double jump if you know video games. Or like glide with good air currents. And so the big central room of their base that you are kind of, the vent goes out into is like probably about 80 feet across. And there's like half natural, half artificial trees that are kind of in this central area. And there's a big kind of domed sunroof where they have artificial sunlight coming down onto this habitat. So you are in a controlled position and no one has seen you, but this space will be a little bit harder for some of you to move around. And you are not for sure, you can't immediately see the artifact. The description that you were given said that it should be about 1 meter square and be like kind of silver steel. And you are to bring it to the right people at the right dock in good working condition, and that's what gets you the full payout. So yeah, you've got there's a bunch of trees, like several different types of trees, artificial and organic, and you can see hallways that go out across 3 different levels. So you're kind of entering at the top level. Above you is this dome with the sun lamp above it. And then below you is 2 more layers of trees and branches and these branching pathways. So what is your first move as a crew? What do you do? And this is for anybody.
I mean, one possibility would be that I could sort of split off and go by myself in my mechanic outfit and say that I'm here to repair the security around the new item.
Sure. What do you all think about that? I'm going to take this approach.
Yes, and I think you should disable the security around it while you're at it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, how do you want to do that? You want to kind of just, do you want to climb out from where you are? Do you want to come back around another way now that you've gotten the crew in? What approach are you taking in doing this?
Yeah, I think it would be the most sense to leave the other 2 kind of peeping out of the vent, and then I should go to the front door like I'm a normal repairman.
Okay. Yeah, so if you are going to be tricking somebody or trying to do something social, you'll want to you'll probably use something in the resolve category. So what action do you think Agar is taking to kind of be able to get in to do what you want to do?
It kind of sounds like a sway, although I'm not good at that.
Yeah, so you can always push yourself and spend a gambit if you want to get more dice. I would say, excuse me, you might have limited effect if you use consort, And that might represent being more like all business, being like, I have a job, I'm supposed to be here, there's a work order. And you're operating more on a professional level versus
trying to persuade.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that, because I think I'm not a very good actor. I'm just I'm here to fix things.
Yeah, and you can have your small drone with you, which certainly helps sell the idea that you're a mechanic. So you would have 1 die to begin with, but you would have a limited effect. And what that means is if you get a limited success, you're going to make progress, but you're not going to get all the way. And I think in this situation, a limited success is they let you in, but somebody stays with you at that machine. But you can also, instead of pushing for a die, you can push for effect. Or we can look at your sheet and say, what other things that you have with you would give you greater effect in kind of selling a professional lie? Or somebody could assist you in some way if they have an idea of what they can do or what they've already done to help you.
Help me.
Yeah, mechanically, assists are cheaper in stress than pushes. So that's one of the ways the game incentivizes teamwork. And so an assist here could look like somebody creating a distraction. It could look like somebody having coached a Gare on like, here's how to lie without having to lie, or here's the kind of paperwork you might need. Hari, does your character have like false documents or something on your character sheet?
Yes, my character already printed that out and brought it in. So while we were setting up the transport, we also set up the mechanics as well, because I know everybody who does everything in relic spaces.
Yeah, so so Hari, you can tick legitimate ID on your character. And that could be falsified credentials for a Gare, even as somebody else. So just click on that box, and then we can say that this was already part of the plan, is that you had this paperwork to help to pitch there. And what that would mean is Iera spends 1 stress and a Gare gets a bonus die or increased effect. But that's up to you, Caroline. Would you rather have a bonus die, but still limited effect, or no bonus die, but standard effect, where if you succeed, there isn't an escort with you?
Let's try that.
Okay.
Risky.
So you would have 1 die. You could still spend a gambit or push yourself to get a bonus die on top of that assist that you've gotten.
Okay, let me also push myself.
Okay. So this is still a controlled situation because you've done a really good job of setting yourself up to be able to sell this pitch, and you got that good engagement roll, and you haven't really done something to, I don't know that this it automatically becomes risky. It could become risky if you don't succeed right away. Okay. So yeah, if you're going to do that, then yeah, if you've pushed, then you get a bonus die. I'm just going to jump in your character sheet to keep track of everything. Yep, that stress is racking up, is how the game tends to go. So yeah, you'd have a controlled situation, and now standard effect because you've got the assist with the legitimate ID, and then a push gives you 1 bonus die.
Got it. Okay.
And see how it goes. Okay, a 1 and a 4. So that is a success, but it does come with a consequence. And I think the consequence is going to be reduced effect. So that's going to bring you back down to, they'll let you in, but one of them is going to go with you. And so I think you're met by a mostly like green and orange plumed relics who's like 6'1" and kind of like very inverted triangle, like beefy Birdman, like big chest and then big plumage on top of it, clearly lifts. And this is OT Mel. And OT says, yeah, that makes sense. Boss has her feathers ruffled about this thing. So it's good that you came. Are you with Yugi's crew? You look a little familiar.
No, I'm with my own crew.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just, big wreck, but not that big, right? Oh, maybe, do you ever go down to the bazaar and have the Uish from the Janae? That's a really nice lady and her family.
No, I'm very bad at lying, so I'm very uncomfortable with all these conversational gambits.
Okay. So I think like maybe part of why you still have this tale is that Audie is actually like trying to figure out where he knows you. And so like he's still chatting and making conversation while he's leading you over to the artifact. And so you do have somebody with you. I'm going to say for everybody's benefit that you all can have basically like in-ear communicators to talk to one another. So you don't have to like pull out a phone to talk to somebody else. And the communicator, I'm going to say, is actually 0 load. It's not 1 load. So you all can talk to each other, and that's fun. So yeah, OT brings you up 1 level and then kind of halfway into a hallway. And there is a door that is stuck half open. And there is like 3 meters by 4 meters chunk of machinery that you have a pretty good suspicion is this device, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Mainly because instead of half the wall, there's a 2-meter wide turbine for a spaceship. And it is coming out of this device. And as you approach, you hear the kind of whirring of a really high-tech fabricator. And Odie's like, I don't know what the fuck this thing is. I'm hoping that the boss sent you over to like get its shit under control because we brought it in here. A couple of the boys were futzing with it. They thought they're gearheads, thought that'd be really cool if they could tell the boss, not only did we get this thing, but here's what it does. Isn't this cool? Don't you want to give me money? But now it's eaten half of our wall and it's turning into something.
You shouldn't have touched it. You clearly didn't know what you were doing. Just get out of my way.
I think to get Audie to leave would be another roll, but if you don't want to have to roll here, we can go back to the others to see if they want to like sneak around. How do y'all want to proceed?
We can talk to each other. Do we see Caroline and her character and Odie?
Yeah, I think you'd see Agara and Odie. Like there's like a ladder up one of the levels. Like Odie just kind of double jumps, but they do have some stuff for other species to be able to move around. And so you'd see the 2 of them go up a level and down a hallway.
So I see that I have Vera a fine sniper rifle and mystic ammunition. So I suggest sniping Odie with the mystic ammunition that makes him forget what he's doing and has him walk away.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. So if you want to tick the boxes for the sniper rifle and the mystic ammunition, I think that you'd still be in a controlled position. Yeah, because it's like, I'll let this be quiet unless you get a consequence. So you'd have a controlled position and great effect. And basically with a great effect, not only will he leave, he will kind of be extra out of your hair for some amount, and that to represent the additional effect. But yeah, like the downside is if you get a consequence, maybe somebody will hear you or something else might go wrong. Just to kind of make everything really clear here. So what action would you be using to make that shot?
Let's see.
I think scrap would be fine if you would like. Some other games will split up combat into like a melee and a range thing, but I think in this game, scrap is basically your one-stop combat shop.
Okay, yeah, let's do scrap.
Okay, so yeah, you would have a controlled position and great effect with your sniper rifle and the mystic ammunition, the forgetful ammunition. You've got 2 dice as is. You could push, get a gambit. You could get an assist from somebody. What do y'all think? What would you like to do here?
I think with 2 dice, I like the odds, so we just go for it. What do you guys think? Good.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Proceed.
And it's 1 bonus dice, right?
Currently, you would not have any bonus dice.
Okay.
You could get an assist from somebody if they like make help you with more advantageous circumstances somehow, or if they've done something else to help you with the shot.
No, I think we're good. We'll just submit.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So with a 4 and a 1, I think I'm going to start a different alarm clock because we're in a different scene. And so this is going to be a clock that says that the razor plume are on alert and your position is exposed. So probably don't want that to fill as a clock. And I would tick it once. You may resist that if you like, but again, if you want to save your stress, as long as that clock isn't full, they have not gone on full alert. There may be intermediate points where some of them are more suspicious, but mechanically you won't have to contend with all of them in like a big fight unless that alert goes off or something else changes the fiction in some big way based on like how you've acted. So I will tick that once. And yeah, I think, Caroline, I think Aguirre is left with this machine, but now that you're not being like berated and like interrogated with questions and you can like focus, you realize that this is bad news. This is more than 1,000-year-old tech, and modern fabricators are not this versatile, and they're definitely not this fast. And the thing that is maybe the most tricky here is that it is finding its own inputs. It is eating the walls and basically breaking down that metal to create the raw materials to use in its fabrication process. So it is going to eat this whole, base alive, and that's a problem. So I'm going to like signal some danger here. But you are alone with the tech at the moment. So what do you want to do?
Okay, I think I have to rig some kind of solution to the fact that it's trying to eat the walls.
Yeah, I think you could also study the device if you wanted more information about how it works. Let's look at other things that your character can do. And what I would say is getting this machine under control is going to be a clock. So it's probably going to take more than one roll. And when you work on a clock with hack or rig, or when you study a schematic, and I think studying a device here is going to be fine, you're going to fill +1 segment. So you're especially good at larger challenges that require hack and rig, which would apply here.
Okay, and just to be clear, you said it was 3 by 4 meters. Is this because it's like grown itself by eating the wall?
Yeah, so like you were told it was 1 meter cube.
Right.
So something has unfolded or expanded here. And you probably know enough about Atlan technology that it has a shakier relationship to what modern physics believes in, because it's like precursor tech. And it's also big because it is like, it's doing all this to grab these inputs. Like there's like little wire tendrils are reaching out and like trying to rip metallic panels off of the wall and feed them into basically like a super like diamond tipped wood chipper on one side of the device while the turbine is being printed on the other.
Wow. Okay. Yes, I think I will definitely have to study this device to come up with a way to defold it and stop it from eating things.
Sure thing. So yeah, I think unfortunately working with a machine that's doing this, that is this old, is going to be risky because you're really experienced, but this is still like a big deal tech. And so you would be in a risky situation, but I think you have the training that you're going to have a standard effect on study. So you've got 1 point in study to begin with, And again, you can push, you can get an assist, you can spend a gambit if you like.
Can Balint back me up with his like arms that can plug into electronic systems?
Yeah, I think to do that, Axel would probably have to get to where you are, and that doing that would probably still require a roll. So we could do that. We could do it in that order, and that way, Balint, you can get yourself and maybe Iera to where the machine is, and then you all can work together. So Balint, if you're going to do that, how would you get yourself and or Iera across the area to rejoin Aegir?
So I think the best, most Axel-like way to get over there is to use my flamethrower and to light up some of these trees and fauna around. A, it causes a distraction, so all the guards will be busy putting the fire out. And then B, we can sneak over because no one's going to be paying attention to us.
I think that the flamethrower would definitely create a distraction. I don't know that it would help. It would let you sneak here. I feel like setting their forest on fire would probably do a lot toward making them alert. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
I think if you are willing to use your flamethrower and set part of this forest on fire, you can get to the machine. You're going to instantly all be in a risky situation until you can do something to calm the situation down. But I'm not going to say that they're specifically on you directly. They're just going to be alert and panicking throughout the compound. Does that sound okay?
I think that, plus I also am apparently carrying illicit drugs. So I will throw them onto the flaming trees.
Oh dear.
To perpetuate a feeling of calm panic. So they're kind of like panicky, but like not really.
Okay, so like a cosmic horror stoned.
Yeah. Like I'm really freaking out right now, but I'm like too like wigged out to do anything.
Okay. I appreciate this high level of chaos. So I'm going to say if you want to make a roll, succeeding at that roll will keep the alert clock from filling at all. Or if you don't want to roll, then I would probably go ahead and add 2 ticks to the alert clock. They're not on you directly, but they're very close to it. But making the risk of a roll could add ticks there anyway. So which of those would you like to take? Do you want to take the certainty, or do you want to try and roll for a better result?
I think let's roll. What do you
Okay.
guys think?
Yeah. What action are you taking to do this here? Is this more about the stealthy part, or is it more about causing chaos with something like scrap?
This is scrap chaos here.
Okay. Is Iera helping somehow here, or is Aegir helping you know what to burn? Do you want to do any assists here? Are there going to be pushes?
I'd love an assist because I'm just directed chaos, but I need to be directed. So I think Hari needs to help me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say.
Iera can give an assist because Iera knows exactly how to burn the trees in such a way that the air heats up and relics can't fly anymore.
Excellent. That is a great point. So yeah, you can spend 1 stress for Iera and give an assist to Axel on this. Okay. So yeah, that give you a bonus die. You've got, I think, 2 scraps. You'd have 3 dice here. And again, you do have gambits. Once y'all are starting to roll risky, you'll be able to retrieve them. And there's no bonus for having gambits left at the end of the mission. So I would encourage you to start using those whenever you feel like it. So we're at about, I'd say, between a half an hour and 45 minutes left. I think we're still doing all right.
Maybe we save a gambit until we get to Caroline with the.
Okay. Yep. Cool. So you can do this would be a risky scrap, but it would have a great effect because not just guns, but flamethrower. And with the assist, you know how to cause damage here.
So the bonus dice is 1 due to the assist.
Yep. 1 bonus die from assist.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so not only did you get a 6, you got 2 6s, And when you get 2 or more 6s, that's a critical. So first, because you did not spend a gambit, I'm going to increase your gambit pool to 3 because you got a 6 on a risky roll. So your team kind of gains momentum, and you would have great effect, but when you get a crit, you get increased effect. And so what I think that means is that I'm going to take the clock that is this gang and the challenge that they could present to you, and I'm going to put a bunch of ticks on it because they are very occupied, and some of them are getting hurt because of how you've set their habitat on fire. I'm sure that this will create no further risks for you down the road when the place you're in is on fire. That's totally fine. What could go wrong? So here. So I'm going to put 3 ticks on a 6 clock for Razor Plume, which means that as a threat, they are halfway taken care of. But now all of you can get to where Ager is, and anybody can grant assists on the study roll if you would like, because Balint, Axel is Atlan, so you probably know some of how this works. Atlan, old Atlan is a weird, what if machine compile or like BIOS language was also genetic sequencing? That's how old Atlan works as a programming / operating language. So you'd be able to coach Ager through some of figuring out how to kind of read the systems like that if you want. So you could easily give an assist there with another stress if you like.
All right, I'll add an assist.
Okay, and then y'all definitely have gambits. Caroline, if you'd like to spend 1 on this roll.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a very key moment for us.
For sure. Okay, so it will be in a risky situation now because Ilhari are not immune to fire in any way, shape, or form, and it's like getting a bit smoky in here, and there's people screaming and running, and you need to concentrate. So you'd be in a risky situation. I think you'll have standard effect by default, but you can get looks like you've got an assist and a bonus die from the gambit.
Okay, so 2 bonus.
Yeah. Cool. So that's a 6, a 3, and a 4. So on when you get standard effect, you would fill 2 ticks on a clock, but your ability says you always get +1. So you're going to get 3 ticks on the clock that is kind of take care of this machine. So I'm going to make a clock for that. All players. And then I'm going to choose a side. So you filled 3 of 8 ticks. And what you get is you get a better sense of what this machine is and what it's trying to do. It is trying to build a whole spaceship. And that spaceship is going to be a bit bigger than the kind of ship you all use. So if you think like the Firefly or a Millennium Falcon, think something that's a bit bigger than that. Not as big as like a Star Destroyer, but maybe like an Imperial Patrol ship, or maybe like one of the bigger ships in Guardians of the Galaxy, like the like half the size of Yontu's big Reaver ship. So if it was built where it is right now, it would be bigger than the whole Aerie and would fill the block around it. It would be an absolute disaster. And you're not certain that it wouldn't then keep on trying to cannibalize more material and build more versions of the same spaceship. And as you're studying it, I think Axel and Iera notice that it's eating up the walls faster now than just a couple minutes ago when Ager started working. So some quick math by any of you would tell you that you need to work really quickly.
So you'd say it wasn't an option to just let it build itself and then like fly it away. That's a bad strategy.
You would have to fly, you would have to figure out how to fly this ship, which there's a decent chance that Axel could do, especially if Axel has helm, because Axel is at land. Between the two of you, you could definitely figure it out, but it would crush out several walls. You might interfere with like life support systems in the neighborhood. So there's a good chance you'd have a very small disaster movie first, and then you'd have to figure out how to fly a spaceship into space from the middle of a space station city.
Okay, scratch that.
So maybe not. Just the character, the players are in control, but I want to be really clear about stakes. And because you got a 6, there is not a consequence here, so things don't get even riskier, but you're still in a risky situation. Caroline, your character has a much better sense of like what this machine is and how it operates, but it's still doing its thing. So I would ask you all as a group, you've got Razor Plume like running around. Some of them are getting hurt, but they are not focusing on you, but with another consequence, they might, somebody could come and notice. And this machine is going gangbusters right now. What do you want to do?
So I have a memento from a past encounter that I can use
Mhm.
because I've seen something like this in the houses of the nobility before, and I stole one of the things that can stop this growth when I destroyed a house. And this seems like a good situation to sacrifice that item, that keepsake, and give it to Agar.
Okay. Yeah, I think because you've already used your acquire asset, I would say that getting an item of this level of import would probably be a 2 stress flashback because it's getting you a lot, and it is even less likely than normal that you would have had something like really specific to help in this situation. But we're doing a one shot. We've established that your character is probably the kind of person who might have been able to access that. So if you're okay spending 2 stress, I think you could have that. Do you have an idea of what does that thing look like? Is it is it programming? Is it code? Is it some like mechanical interface?
A little blade
Okay.
that you just stick in, and it kind of interferes with the whole, building itself replication aspects of Atlan technology. And so it can just stop it where it is right now and leave it in a place where Axel can still carry it out.
Okay. So yeah, I think with that, that's going to give you increased effect in trying to do something with it, but you'll still need to fill the clock. So one of the characters will want to make an action. There's also the ability to make a group action, which what I think that means is if you wanted to do a group rig, then we could see a sequence where all 3 of the characters are like actively mucking with things. And what happens there is every character rolls, and we take the highest individual die, or basically we take the highest result from any of the characters. So if there's 5 dice rolled across 3 characters and one of them is a 6, you still get a 6. The downside is that whoever is leading that action, whoever's kind of coordinating, takes stress unless everyone gets a 4 or higher. Each character that gets less than a 4 as their highest die, the leader takes 1 stress as they have to kind of compensate for the failures. But that would be a way for everybody to be able to pool their dice. If your character doesn't have anything in the relevant skill, it may or may not be as great an idea to do the group action, but you still have gambits, you still have stress and things like that. So that's definitely an option that could apply here if you'd like. What do y'all think?
Sorry, so just to check, does Hari have to roll to get the flashback for the special knife thing?
No,
or is that separate?
I think for this situation, if Hari, if you spend 2 stress on your character, then you can just have had it. In other games of Scum and Villainy, I might call for a roll to get it. But I think for this situation, I'm fine doing that.
Okay. We could do a group rig then in that case.
Yeah, so I see Iera does not have rig, but...
Can we do a hack?
Yeah, I think because of the way that Atlan technology works, and in this situation, I would let you combine hack and rig depending on which action you have. So I see at least 1 point of rig on Axel. So 2 of you could roll rig and 1 of you could roll hack if you'd like. I would just ask which character is leading this group action, kind of who is coordinating all of these efforts. And you're going to be the person who's going to take stress if there are failures.
I can take the stress since I'm the mechanic person.
Okay. And each of you can individually push for a die and or spend a gambit. You cannot give assists to one another during a group action because you're already assisting each other by working together. So any one of you can push or spend a gambit if you'd like to get a die here. You're going to have great effect by default, which will put 3 more ticks out of 8. So there's a low chance that you'll get this all done in one roll. But if any one of you got 2 6s, you'd get a crit. But you don't get to have if both Balint and Hari got a 6, but neither of you got 2 6s, it still wouldn't be a crit. Just to let you all know the specifics. What that probably means is that you might get most of the way done, but not all the way done. And this gives me one more chance to possibly introduce some consequences in this scene. Does that all make sense? Okay. So I'd ask for each of you to build your dice pool. And then I'd like to see if we can all press enter at the same time to maintain suspense. So this is a risky roll. And you're going to have great effect. And that's for everybody. I'll let the kind of special device apply across in this situation. And then does anybody want to spend stress or gambits to get a bonus?
I want to do a push.
Okay.
Same here.
All right. And let's see, Caroline, did you spend a gambit on the study roll? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you spend a gambit, you can't then also get a gambit. So you all still have 2 of your 3 if somebody wants to do that. If you use a gambit, you don't have to spend the stress to push. So that's up for any of y'all.
Okay. Is it okay with you guys if I use one of our 2 gambits? Cool.
Okay.
How much stress are we using?
It is 2 stress to push.
Okay.
Each time.
And so then each of us gets 1 bonus dice. Is that right?
Gambit is per character. So one character spends 1 gambit.
So I'm gambiting and they're both pushing.
Okay. Is everybody set with their dice pool? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So we have rig, hack. I see 4, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2, 2. Is that correct? Okay. So you succeed. So I'm going to put 3 more ticks on on this clock. 1, 2, 3. The downside is that nobody rolled a 6, and so the consequence is that while you're working, nobody notices that the fabricator has made a blaster. So that there's the big turbine, and then there's a gun that's been built onto the turbine, and now it is and turns and is pointed right at all of y'all, and it's about to shoot at you. What do you do? So this is for anybody.
Can Balint shoot it with his arm?
So I don't think I need to shoot it. I actually have a fine martial art style as part of my character. So I do a Shaolin monk like punch to turn it in a different direction, and it actually shoots out towards where the burning trees are and kills some more of the bad guys.
Sure. So you have a great 1-2 punch of special abilities that I've given you. You have Unstoppable. You can push yourself to do one of the following: perform a feat of physical force that verges on the superhuman, punching a spaceship scale blaster so hard that you turn it. So you could do that, or engage a small gang on equal footing in close combat, which is like one-person gang. You don't need to do that here, but a superhuman feat would be good. And you have Battleborn that says you may expend your special armor to reduce harm from an attack in combat or to push yourself in a fight. Special armor is basically a separate resource that overlaps some with stress, but is not stress. And so, Belen, if you want to use your special armor, you can get that push for free. And then that says you can make this roll. You will still have to roll to do so, but you are in a position to be able to make it. Does that sound all right?
Sounds good.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead and click that special armor box and describe to us what it looks like when kind of you use your cybernetic might and your kind of space Shaolin martial arts to react quick enough and punch this blaster cannon.
So is the armor box just above the heavy term? Is that the box that I clicked?
Yeah, so there's armor, heavy, and then special. So click the one that says special.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool. And then, yeah, if you give us a description, and then we'll figure out what the role is going to be.
Okay, so I use a special combination, like kind of a Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, flying through the air, foot out, to hit the side of the gun, and then I elbow it, like, soccer player Zidane style, to swing it out towards a different direction to save us and blast the bad guys.
Okay, so is that like a jumping spin kick where you hit with your heel first and then you follow with the elbow or something like that?
Yeah, like a Liu Kang Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, good, very fun.
With the sound effects too.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, see if you can go for the fatality here, and avoid the vaporization fatality that it's trying to use on y'all. So yeah, this is going to be a desperate situation because you are trying to impact something that is like, I'm thinking about this as like, how much bigger are the guns on a spaceship versus individual scale things? You are superhumanly strong, but you're also trying to do this before it can get off a shot and vaporize you and your buddies. So this is going to be a desperate situation. You're going to have standard effect even after your superhuman powers because it's a higher tier thing. It's just super big. Normally you would have limited effect, but you're doing a superhuman feat of strength. So this would be a desperate position, but you're going to have a standard effect. And you all still have one gambit if you like.
I think, guys, let's use the gambit.
Okay. Yeah, so that would give you another bonus die, and this is going to be another scrap.
Yep. Scrap. So desperate.
Desperate, standard.
Standard. One bonus die.
Yep.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Let's hope the dice treat you well. So that's 4, 3, 4. So I think this is what I think happens. And again, you may be able to resist, or someone can resist for you if you don't like what that looks like. You hit it, and then between when you hit it with your heel and when you hit it with your elbow, it hits you point blank, and it's going to burn you for a level 3 harm that says basically the description on that harm would be partially disintegrated. And level 3 harm is the highest level harm you can take without just being dead. If you take level 4 harm, your character instantly dies. Now, because you're a scoundrel, you can survive level 3 harm. You might have armor. You might have something else you can do to resist. Somebody else might resist that harm. But I think the consequence is that you're going to take this point blank shot. So
can we resist?
Yeah, so if somebody wants to resist to protect Axel, then just tell me what that looks like, and then you would roll to see how much stress it costs you.
Okay, I think I see, so he hits the gun with his foot, and then I see that it's like not doing what he expected and turning towards him. So I already have my trusty mechanic screwdriver in my hand. So at that moment, I like jam the like bearing that allows the gun to shift towards him.
Okay. Yeah, so when we do resistances, we're looking at the attributes. So that's insight, prowess, and resolve rather than the actions. To me, that sounds like it could be an insight resist, because you're using your technical know-how and you're kind of seeing it coming, because insight also covers study. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you resist damage, excuse me, because we're playing in like a cinematic tone, you can resist 2 levels of damage. So if you do this, instead of taking level 3 harm partially vaporized, Axel would take level 1 harm burned. But then Balint might also be able to use like armor on Axel as a character. I wouldn't allow 2 different resists, but you can often use armor and resist. But let's do this resist first. To do that, Caroline, you'll click on Insight on your character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have no bonus dice. And it may ask for notes. And if you ask for notes, then you could just describe something in how you do this. So on an Insight resist, you got a 6, 2, and a 5. So that means it costs you 0 stress. It's almost like you know your ships really well. So yeah, you do what you say, and it kind of, you keep it from turning, but you all are so close that even that thing firing just in the room with you is going to burn Axel. So Balint, you would take level 1 harm unless your character has armor and you want to spend that armor to resist the damage further. If you resist with armor, you would take 0 harm.
I'll take the level 1 harm because I have
Okay.
2 slots left in the pack, and
Okay.
maybe we'll use that later.
Yeah. So you would, if you click on the box under harm 1 at the low row, then you just type in what your harm is. So that would be burned. Let's say singed, actually, because it's level 1 harm. And that means that in situations where the fact that you've been partially burned would hurt you, you would have less effect. So there is some impact to harm. But you protect your crew, you act in time so that you don't all get vaporized by this machine that you're not entirely certain isn't reacting in defense to the thing that you're trying to do to it, because this is ancient precursor technology. And Balint, I think even Axel might be a bit intimidated because it's been 1,000 years, and the Atlan who are now are not, it's not the same people, it's not the same culture. You don't have the experiences of dealing with this type of tech that your ancestors did. And why would they need something like this to do the things that it's doing? What happened back then? Any of those things I would suggest as prompts as the creator of this world, things that you all might be thinking about. So that blaster cannon won't be shooting you anymore, but you can't be certain that this fabricator won't make other parts of the machine. And so now y'all are in a desperate situation as the kind of one of the branches of the leaves, one of the branches from the trees from the main room stretches out almost along the ceiling of this room, and now it's catching on fire. And so this corridor is filling with smoke. The machine is still going. The kind of the gang, I think at this point, is now taking pot shots at you all, but they're in a bad way, and they're not actually able to get up to where the hallway where you are because there's so much fire. So y'all are in a desperate position, and the machine is still going. What do you do?
I have a detonator. Could I just blow up the floor so the machine drops out of their hideout?
I think you could definitely use a detonator. I would say that if you want to fill this clock by using a detonator, the machine itself could be damaged unless you roll really well. Now, maybe it'll work. Maybe you'll roll 6s. But in terms of respecting the world that we're in, I think that could be a major consequence.
Too risky. Our number one motivation is getting paid.
You can absolutely try like rig or hack again. You're not forbidden from doing so. So you're welcome to do that. You can do the detonation thing. I don't want to stop you from doing it. You're in charge of your characters, but there are some major consequences that could come about. And in a desperate situation, damaging the machine in a big way is the kind of consequence you get if you don't succeed in a desperate. So how do y'all want to
maybe
kind
we
of get
should
this thing
try
under control?
hack. What do you guys think?
Yeah, hacking it.
That's probably safer.
Okay, so yeah, you can do a hack. You can do another group roll if you would like, or just like one of you can work at any given time. It's up to y'all how you want to address this. We've done a group action before. You can do another one if you like, or we can see it a different way.
Yeah, let's do a group one again, and I can again be the person who takes the stress, if necessary.
Yeah, you get to be up to your elbows in centuries-old technology. Okay.
Do you want to make it such that I take the stress instead, since both of you are in the hot seat in this situation?
Sure.
Yeah. So what does it look like when Iera kind of takes point in terms of coordinating everybody to get this done?
So since I used the original, blade to stop this to begin with, I'm just going to get the three of you to help me drive it in better, because it didn't really go in the first time. It's just like the tip got in. So now all three of us are just going to jump on it, give it everything we've got, and just push.
Sure. Okay. So very much the percussive maintenance version of using rig, that sounds like. Cool. Yeah, that definitely works for me if y'all are game. In this, I don't know that hack feels as applicable. I'm going to look at hack again to see how much it makes space for this kind of more aggressive interference. Hack computers, systems, and digital locks, reprograms robots or drones, jam surveillance and communications versus rig, because rig includes rig explosives, disable a trap. So this does feel more like rig for all of y'all. And again, if you have 0 dice, you can push or spend a gambit or to get up to 1 die. If you roll with 0 dice, you roll 2 dice and take the lower as your result that you add to the group, which for group action tends to mean you're more likely to fail and cost stress.
Okay,
I think I'll need to push on this because
I also
die
will.
in rig. Yep. And then I believe there is 1 gambit left. I'm going to look at the rolls. Yep, no 6s on riskies since that study, but you still have 1 gambit in the pool, which means 1 person can get a bonus die for free if you need it. And I will say if you get a standard success on this, which I think you're in standard position now. So if you get the success and I don't get a consequence to reduce your effect, you will finish dealing with this machine with this roll if you succeed. Okay, is everybody good on and know what your dice pool is going to be? So this is desperate because there's a lot going on and the stakes are high, and it just made a blaster cannon to shoot at you. You're going to have a standard effect as everybody works together to kind of get this kind of blade splint far enough, like maybe it's got a override like programmed into its in its firmware or something, and you just have to get deep enough into the machine so that it can give the override as everybody is crowded around it, or you're doing your various things to try to get this this thing under control. Okay, if you all are ready, we can do our countdown. Everybody have their dice ready? Okay, let's do 3, 2, 1, and roll. I wonder what's going to happen. This is the nice thing about playing games, is that the dice get to be a part of what's going on. All right, I don't see anything just yet. Oh, no, okay. Oh, I'm used to it giving me audio pings, but it didn't do that. So we've got rig, cool. So I see 2, 4, 5, 2, and a 5. So 4 or 5 is a mixed success. And I think so here's the thing. You drive the blade deep, and maybe Aegir is like furiously typing on some console, and Axel is like pushing with one arm and like using a blaster pistol to hold off the razor plume with the other hand, and smoke is rolling in, and you get it, and the machine shudders, makes a mechanical high-pitched sound that sounds almost like a moan, and the big turbine falls off, crunches halfway through the floor by the machine, and it starts folding in on itself, becoming smaller and smaller until it's back to a 1 meter cube. But then I think the consequence is that the ground under you is about to give way, and you are not for sure what's beneath you. Is the first floor on fire? Is that floor also compromised? So you all are kind of in like an Indiana Jones situation where the floor is collapsing on you. What do you do?
Can Hari do like a double jump, since she is a relics, holding the cube thing to save the floor from collapsing?
I think it'd be, you'd have a great effect if you're just protecting yourself and the cube. You'd have a more limited effect if you're trying to protect the rest of the crew, because that's a lot of weight to have to carry and to be able to kind of pump your wings that strong. So I would ask Hari, how many people are you going to try to protect all at once in doing this, if it's what you want to do?
Ideally, I'd want to protect everybody, all 3 of us.
Okay.
But what do you guys think? Do you want to be protected?
Save yourself.
Yeah, because what I'll say is, if you roll to avoid the problem, then we'll do it that way. If you don't do anything and no one is saving you, I'm just going to declare a consequence that applies to your characters. But you can each respond to it in your own way if you want. So one character can fly away, one character can duck and roll, somebody else can like use a grappling hook or something. We'll just go around and get that scene of how do you survive the kind of collapsing of the temple equivalent in this situation. So we know what Iera is doing, and Iera has the device. I would say, Hari, if you want to protect everyone at once, then you will start at a 0 effect, because you're holding somebody who is bigger than you, somebody who is smaller than you, but is still a whole other person, and this machine is not without its own weight. And what that means is, at 0 effect, you're not able to help because there's too much going on, but you can push for effect, and you can use other abilities that might improve your effect. If you want to not try to help everybody at once, you might be able to get limited effect to start and then push up to standard. So Maybe that means that somebody else rolls for themselves and you only have to self one person. So I'll let you all decide that.
I know I have a remote a detonator launcher. Can we use the force of the detonation to allow us to fly up?
Okay, so that looks like you use like rocket jump to blow yourself back up out of the hole.
Right.
That's ridiculous. I will let you do it, but I think you're going to take at least one harm no matter what you do. And if you roll more poorly, there might be other harm, is what I would say, because this requires silly physics to be viable at all. And I'm fine with silly physics, but there are some limits. But you're welcome to do that.
I suggest, maybe if Iera can kind of float away with the cube, we could use a grappling hook Swiss Army aspect of Axel's arm, perhaps. You could carry me since I am a small hamster creature.
Yeah, I think we've established that Axel is really strong and that Axel has like some Swiss Army things. So Belinda, I would say if you spend one stress, you can have already had this thing integrated into your cybernetics. And then I would say, Hari, your role to protect you and the cube would be at great effect because it's just you and this one thing. It's heavy, so you have to roll, but you're going to be in a way better position. Does that sound all right for everybody? Okay, so I'm going to ask each of you to pick which action you're using to kind of get away from this. I think scramble is a great option unless you have something else that you want to do.
Does scrap work for me?
So scrap would look more like fighting. So let me look at the reference and remind myself what all it looks like. So scrap with an opponent in blast or physical combat, assault or hold a position. Yeah, you can hold your position with scrap. It's a little bit of a stretch, but sure, let's go with it. And it would only be fair if I would let Axel do that as well. So y'all both can scrap as you kind of fight your way to safety. Maybe the razor plume are like trying to flood into the hallway as things are falling, and you're able to do something like that. So yeah, you'd each make a roll. You're still in a desperate situation, but I think because Axel we've established him as super strong, and because Hari Iera is a bird person, y'all are both going to have great effect in doing this, but you're going to have to roll in a desperate situation. So there could be some consequences unless you roll a 6 each. Caroline, you're definitely in a position to be able to give an assist if you want.
Yes, I will assist Axel since he is carrying me.
Okay, so that's 1 stress for Agar to assist. And then for either of you, you can push or spend a gambit if nobody spent a gambit last time.
Yeah, we still have 1 gambit left. So Hari, do you want to use that one?
What do you guys think? Should I push or use the gambit? Or save the gambit for later and just push?
Use the gambit. I think this is like our last major push.
Yeah, if y'all get this without consequences that stop you, after this you'll be able to get out and get to your getaway vehicle that you've already spent resources to establish you have.
Let's use the gambit then.
Okay, great. Then that will give you a bonus die, another bonus die. And if you're both ready with your scrap rolls, then let's see what happens as the floor gives way.
That's 1 bonus die, right?
Yep. Okay, so I see a 1 and a 5 for Iera and a 5, 6, 6 for Axel. So Axel gets a crit, and so I would, Belinda, if you can describe the cool action hero sequence as Axel kind of evades this collapsing floor and the fight closing in on you. I think with your crit, you can just negate the consequence that Iera would suffer for having a 5. So y'all as a group, thinking about how y'all have rolled, can describe how you escape this this collapsing floor and get your way out. What do you think that looks like?
So I think Caroline's hamster person is on my shoulder, shooting the bad guys as I'm like grappling upward and also blasting them to provide cover for Hari's character as she'll describe that she's flying out. And like explosions happening in the background, of course.
Yeah, because you've got the device either in arms or like carrying with kind of your talon feet. What does that look like?
It's my feet. I'm grabbing onto it with my talons and flapping as hard as I can and using my hands to pull myself up as well.
Okay. Yeah. So the area is just in utter chaos. You know, it's lost a bunch of its metal and walls and other materials in the creation of the turbine and the cannon. The turbine falls through the floor into the ground level, and the fire spreads. The cannon is off like sparking and like starting to like melt itself as it's trying to fire, but it's malfunctioning. And you all are able to swing and shoot and jump and kind of jump glide your way out, and you kind of get out of the building, like coughing a bit, kind of heroically, as you know, you just had to get through a bunch of smoke and fire, and there's like yelling from behind you. But just around the corner, you've got that truck that you stowed that you got from an old contact who does supply runs, and you're able to kind of pile in, and you've got the artifact. You kind of pull the kind of rolling slatted like back door close, and like that's the last shot that we get of that scene. And then we smash cut to a quick montage of you handing over the device to Cog. Her eyes go wide as she like pokes at it and realizes what it can do. And then we cut to you all with like a big stack of credits. And as we finish, I'd love for you each to describe like just a couple second shot of what it looks like for your character spending this big payoff, or like what are you doing with it? How are you celebrating? Does anyone want to go first?
So there's like a little habitat in the wreck that's like a simulated desert island. So like you have a dome of stars above you, but there's also a fake sun and like little fake mechanical breakers that are washing as I like lounge as a small hamster on the beach.
Very nice. All right. Hari, Balint, what about for you?
I think I get additional upgrades so that now I can actually fly, and then half my head has become cybernetic, so I know my target, so then I could leave and take out the overlords who killed my family finally.
Awesome.
And I have used all the cash to deck myself out once again and head to the place where the movers and shakers of the empire are gathering. And that's where I'm going to hunt down a few more contacts and our next job as well, because I'm just addicted to the thrill and I can't stop.
Awesome. So yeah, that is the cosmogony contraption. And I'm so happy. Y'all are fantastic players, and thank you for diving all the way in. I know y'all don't have a lot of experience in this type of game, but you did splendidly, and I'm really happy. It seemed like y'all got along well. We are ahead of our time. So yeah, we've got a couple of minutes. How is that for y'all? What do you think about all of this? How has your weekend been? Good job.
Yeah, thank you. I really love the world that you put together and let us like shoot things in.
Yeah,
you were really, really fun as a moderator. That was good.
Yeah, it was good to be able to get a sense of who y'all wanted to play in terms of like archetypes and talking about touchstones ahead of time, because it made it really easy to take what you were interested in doing and like plug it into this world so that it felt like it was easier to take off running. And I'm really glad that y'all kind of rose to the occasion of like, oh, well, like, let's make up a person who didn't exist 5 minutes ago to be somebody who we know is established in this world, because that really helps the game like move really smoothly. Cool. So I want to return and speak to chat and say, thank you all for watching us. If you are impressed, delighted, amazed, surprised, astounded, or other superlatives by what we have done in these last few hours, I would absolutely and directly encourage you to donate or donate again, increase your donation to the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation, because if all of these wonderful scientists are this creative and wonderful, imagine what they do in their actual spheres of expertise that if for the interviews y'all have heard about in robotics and or the kind of the human machine and in ants and in a specific pancreatic cancer, oncology. Just trying to remember my details, reaching back several hours. So yeah, y'all are wonderful and impressive players. I'm excited to know that what we're doing is helping you all in your own individual research. I was really glad to hear in the interview that you all get to talk with each other, because in my own academic experience on the like humanities social sciences side, that ability to talk with colleagues in an interdisciplinary fashion was like super inspiring for me. And I hope that it is for all of y'all. And if you who are watching are inspired, even if you're watching the VOD later on, you can still donate to the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. It may just be slightly harder than using the donate command here at ArvCon during ArvCon. So I see lots of happiness in the chat. I'm going to do some futzing to make my own donation. And then I would encourage you all who are watching to stick around, because at 6 p.m., so just in a few minutes, with a little bit of like title card shift over, we are going to return and I'm going to become a player as Brandon has brought in a designer that they know, who is going to be facilitating, I think, 2 or 3 rounds of a different role-playing game for us. I'm really excited about this. It's a game I'm not familiar with, but it has mecha. And I know, Hari, you're an anime fan and you mentioned mecha there. So I'm excited about that. And this is where I will make space for Greg to pop back in if you are here to prepare to take us out to a title card. And Greg, shall I do the outro for all the scientists, or do you want to? I don't know if you're listening. Just
I am listening and I'm here, and you can definitely do the outro. Thank you, first of all. That was really entertaining. It was a lot of fun. And while you were doing this, we raised. Now we are over 6,000. We're up to $6,009. So we raised over $700 during your session alone, which is awesome. We have one more session left to go. So that is real slick. So thank you so much. That was really great. And as always, Mike, great GMing. Yes. But if you want to do the outros to the players, then I will be ready when you're done with that. But thank you all again.
Cool. So I will invite our lovely players to quickly remind everyone who you are and where people can find you on the internet if you would like to be found, and or where they can go and like read about your research. So if it's all right, we can start with Caroline.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm Caroline Bartman. I'm a 3rd-year Damon Runyon Fellow, and if you'd like, you could follow me on Twitter to hear more about research and bad jokes.
All right, and your Twitter handle is?
It's Caroline Bartman.
Thanks. All right, Hari.
I am Hari, and I'm a researcher in cancers of the immune system at UCLA. And you can find me if you just look me up at the Signaling Systems Lab at UCLA.
Cool. All right, and Balint.
So I'm Balint. I'm starting my 2nd year at the University of Pennsylvania, and you can find me daily pictures of ants and my animated cartoon characters that I do for kids, and my Twitter at BalintZCacho.
Excellent. y'all are fabulous. I am so happy. Like, I've not done a whole lot of like convention style game in terms of like, I don't know who any of these people are and let's try to have a good time. And it was brilliant. May it always be this easy because y'all have made it so. Again, I am Michael R. Underwood. I am one of the co-hosts on Speculate. Folks who are Arvin Elleron regulars will know me from the Case of the Cindered Seal, or for GMing the game of Rebel Crown, Splendor and Shadow. This community is fabulous. I see some friends of mine who came to swing by. So thank you so much to Tom and to Paul, and there may be some other people who are in chat who I didn't see. So thanks everybody. If you are seeing this later, thanks for taking a look. Maybe think about making a late donation to Damon Runyon, because they do some amazing work and enable some very cool research. Folks can find me on the internet at Mike R. Underwood on Twitter, and you can find Speculate at speculatesf.com, or you can find the VODs of the games that we play on Greg's YouTube at youtube.com/Arvin Elleron. And again, I'm going to coordinate with Greg to give a signed and personalized copy of Annihilation Aria to a top donator during this segment, or give you one of my ebooks if you are a top donator outside the US, because international shipping is very scary. But that is me, and now we have reached the end of our time. So I want to say thank you so much again to the scientists, and I'm going to hand it back over to Greg to take us out until our 6 p.m. segment.
Thank you all again. So, how about I not mute myself? Thank you all again so very much. It was awesome. And chat, can we get some love for the wonderful players? And thank you all again. Mike, Caroline, Blint, and Harry, thank you so much. And yeah, everyone stay frosty, I guess would be the movie quote. But thanks, everyone. Bye for now. Okay. And that is going to bring us into what is going to be the final event of the evening. So first of all, thank you again so much to the amazing scientists, the amazing Damon Runyon fellows, and of course, Mike Underwood for a great job. It was a lot of fun. I was able to check in and out while chasing my son around the house. So I was able to be here for part of it, in and out, and it was a lot of fun. And even more important than how fun it was is the fact that we made $6,009 so far. So we've got one event left, folks. I will actually check in on that, and I believe the top donator, I don't know if it's going to show this or not. It might. The top donator was $375. It wasn't that. Hold on, I'm scrolling down. The top donator was not Configuration Queen, although Configuration Queen's awesome. There we go. Xenorex. Xenorex, if you are still here, Xenorex, are you still around watching? Xenorex, if you're still watching, it would be great if you could be so kind as to private message me on Twitch. Just send me a whisper if you are there. Oh my goodness, and Turbo Tango. And as if he didn't do enough already, Mike has also contributed $25 to the cause, 6,034. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks. Turbo Tango is awesome. And you should check out Annihilation Aria. If you thought that was a cool world, hey, I have a suggestion for you. How about buy the book Where It Came From? And you can find out more about this amazing world. A book that I may or may not have read and looked at, and I think maybe even blurbed or something, but it's good stuff. So you should check that out and see more of that world. Thank you, Mike, so much. Thank you, Turbo Tango. So Xenorex, if you are here, it would be great. I'm just going to mark that down, actually. Let's see. Xenorex. With the 375. So just so Turbo Tango hears this, Xenorex contributed 375. That was the top donator during that session. So that's where the signed copy of Annihilation Aria is going to be sent to, if that is Xenorex is within the continental US somewhere. But if not, we can work out some kind of digital thing, so we'll see. But either way, Xenorex, if you can hear this either now or during the VOD later, please reach out to us. Please drop me a private message here on Twitch, and I will get that information over to Mike. And then we will be good to go as far as that is concerned. So thank you very much for that awesome session. Oh, you live in Europe. Okay, but no need for the signed copy. There you are, Xenorex. Well, listen, then what I would say, have a go to someone else. Oh, all right. Well, I'll leave that up to what I'll do is I'll let Turbo Tango decide if you want that to go Turbo Tango as just like a general drawing, because we could do that. You know, if Xenorex is being kind enough to just let that go to someone else, you could do that, or you could do like a digital thing or whatever. I'll leave that up to Turbo Tango to decide, because that was, but I really appreciate the generous offer as well, Mike. Thank you for doing that, and thank you, Xenorex. That was a wonderful contribution, and definitely was one of those like whoa moments where I was like, that's pretty sweet. So thank you. 6,034. I can't even believe it. So this brings us to the final session of ArvCon, the final thing of ArvCon for tonight. And as per usual, it is going to be a great group of people that we've got going on here. It is going to be a game called Firewalk. Now, for those of you who have not heard of this before, as Mike said, this is not something which we have had an encounter with before, because Firewalk is in a really cool book, which is the Micro RPG book, basically a book of micro RPGs, tons and tons of them, like on single pages type of thing. Brandon O'Brien, of course, has a game in here. Also, the Neon Caster, some of you may know from the work that has been done with Soundclash the Clampdown. We've got, and that's Nathan Blades. Nathan Blades has also a game in there. So there's a lot of cool little games that are in this, in Firewalk. Yeah, that's true. If you wanted to go to somebody else and we want to go to the second top donator, I do know how to get a hold of Fleos very easily, so they can make that happen. So it's up to Turbo Tango. If Xenorex and Turbo Tango are cool with it going to the second top donator, then definitely we can send that to Fleos, and I can definitely get his address. That should be fine. But I'll let them handle that. Anyway, so Firewalk, and I know nothing about this except I know a little bit about the designer of this game, who is Literal Soup on Twitter. I know a little bit about that, and I know a little bit about them, and I know a little bit as well about the players for this event. I know a lot about the players, actually. Maybe you could show it off in some GOG stream. Fair enough, Xenorex. Fair enough. That's right. Maybe you can do that. All right. Well, thank you, Xenorex, for the generosity. So as long as Turbo Tango's cool with that, then let's see. Annihilation Aria to Fleos. Okay, cool. The players for this are going to be Brandon O'Brien, the Rising Tides of Rising Tides fame. Basically, of every Sunday, Brandon O'Brien is on this channel fame. The Rising Tides, and then we've also got Mike Underwood, the person you just saw GMing. He will switch roles and will move into being a player for this. Valerie Valdez, who many of you will know as The Kids Are Asleep on Twitch, and also from Case of the Cindered Seal with Blades in the Dark. And last but certainly not least, Amr Amaraz, who is well known for their role in Soundclash the Clampdown, which airs on this channel every other Sunday. So those players are going to be joined by Soup, who is going to be facilitating this game. And that's going to be the closing session of this. Now, I do want to mention to folks, just as a quick reminder, that this is going to be about 2 hours or so. And then I'll be back on to wrap everything up. During that 2-hour stretch, I want you all to know that during that 2-hour stretch, you've got that amount of time left to be able to get in for, if you wish, that prize right over there, that fireworks, that incredible fireworks thing right there, which currently Mike Smith, Peripheral Mike, has a $773. He is the top donator so far of this event. Dragon Spear has contributed $545. Dragon Spear is therefore going to be getting this if all stays the same. That's what the second top donator gets. And the third top donator, which is Carlos, as we speak, is going to be getting this at 51111. And this is the Icarus and Jelinek limited edition hardcover. And this is the only other copy I have of this is my own copy, which I'm keeping. But this copy is going to be going out to the winner, which right now is Carlos. Hillness is right behind. So if anyone wants to jump in and they're like, man, I really want a piece of that. I really want to get that picture. I want to get that incredible fireworks picture that is this enormous thing on metal tin type, incredible. If you want that, you know what the deal is. Or if you want the second or third prizes, you know the deal about how to get involved with that. Most importantly, of course, is just to be here, to be contributing, to be part of the community, and to be spreading the word. We have 2 more hours, folks, and any other extra time that we could do to make this happen would be really awesome. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless at this point in terms of what to say in terms of numbers. I feel like goals are almost out the window at this point. Like, $2,500 goal was blown by. I made another goal of 3,000. That was blown by. 4,000 became the next goal because that's the record that we set last year. We blew by that. We're now over twice goal. We blew by that. So now I don't even know what to say. I mean, just like keep it on rolling, I don't know, 6,500. Who knows? But I'm so grateful about how well this event has been received this time around. And hopefully this sets us up nicely for what we're looking at to come over the next few years. So thank you all for being a part of that. With that said, let me just confirm that we're all good to go. And thank you again to Belint, to Harry, and to Caroline. Thank you so much for making this work. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I shouldn't set goals. We just break them. That's why you set goals, my friend. That is exactly why you set goals, so that they will get repeatedly broken. No, I mean, I as I said, I had no idea we were going to reach this number. I thought there was a good chance we were going to hit the goal. I felt pretty confident about that. And I figured that we would get someone past it. I have no idea, 3,000, 3,500, something like that. But when we get up to this number, like 45, 5,000, 6,000, that all of a sudden I'm like, oh, God. So this is absolutely amazing. So with that said, we are going to... and thank you for the cheer. I appreciate it. Thank you, Belin. Thank you so much. May your cybernetic enhancements be everything that you hope they will be into the future. Thank you, everybody. So much love for everyone who has been such a big part of this. And thank you again for Damon Runyon. So I'm going to cut the stream now. Do not go anywhere, chat. Okay? Don't go anywhere. We're sitting right now in the mid-30s. Don't go anywhere, because as soon as I cut stream, Brandon O'Brien is going to start up on his end. He's going to bring all the players in, and we are going to have the last event of ArvCon. And then right after that's done, I will jump back in for a few closing thoughts and thank yous. So please do not go anywhere, okay? I'm going to cut the stream, but it's only going to be momentary until Brandon starts up. So please don't go anywhere. Thank you all for being a part of this, and stick around because our final event is coming up next. And again, don't touch that dial. Again, thank you as well. One more thank you to the amazing work for the mods, Triffid and Dragonspear and Hillness and J-Rab, Shadowed Mage. I saw Tarry in here before. Thank you, and of course the Rising Tides, naturally. Thank you to all of these lovely people who have made such an effort and done so much work this weekend. They're the best. I keep saying they're the best, and I mean it. So thank you, everybody. Stick around, and I will be right back at you after this event to come. But stick around, because right now Brandon is coming on board. So stick around for Pyre Walk, the final event of ArvCon 2021. Let's keep it going, and I will be right back. See you in a bit.